September 16th, 2021 is now in session. Roll call.
Gina Wilson.
Here.
Ricky Patel.
Here.
Sarah Foley.
Here.
Eric Greenyard. Present. Susie Peck. Here.
At this time, we'll have election of the chair for the Jinx Board of Adjustment. Do I have any nominations for chair of the Board of Adjustment?
I nominate Eric. Greenyard. I really know that.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, all those in favor of Eric Enyart as chair of the Jinx Board of Adjustment? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it.
Yay, Eric.
Come on over. And bring your name.
Well, bear with me. Certainly first time. Okay. Do you want me to announce the next items?
Yes, please.
Okay. Item 4 on the agenda is to approve the minutes of May 13, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I wasn't present, but I'll second.
Motion to approve the minutes has been made and seconded.
Gina Wilson.
Yes.
Ricky Patel.
Yes.
Sarah Foley.
Yes.
Eric Greenyard.
Yes.
Spencer. Abstain.
Item number 5 on the agenda is business. 5.1 is JBOA 21-441. That one has been pulled by staff. Item number 2 is JBOA 21-440. Request by Theron Bliss for a, it says special exception, but I believe we'll cover that. This is a request of the Board of Adjustment to allow for a pool in the side yard, general location 12704 South 4th Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was brought to us as a request to allow for a pool in the side yard. And if you look at the documents that I provided you in the beginning, and then later I sent an email with an additional attachment, it shows that it's just a small portion. Primarily the pool is in the rear yard. And I want to state for the record that I contacted the city attorney because when we advertised this, we advertised it as a special exception, but we need to process it as a variance. So the city code does not specify if you are desiring to have a pool in the side yard, does it require a special exception or a variance? But we've always processed them as a variance. And in fact, we believe that it does require a variance. And the city attorney has said that we adequately met the statutory requirements for advertising the case because the request has not changed, whether it was a special exception or a variance. Those are two different tools. But in this case, we will ask the Board of Adjustment to consider a variance only as the tool to remedy the pool in the side yard. So with that being said,
Will that require a motion?
I don't think so. She did not say it. I'm thinking through that.
I would say whenever it does, it'd be pretty easy.
Yes, and I'm not opposed to having it as a motion.
I don't think it's necessary. I think just whoever makes the motion needs to specify its variance.
Yeah. That the tool used to remedy this will be a variance, not a special exception. So if you look on page 4 of your staff report, this lot is located at 12704 South 4th, and it's in Shelby at Yorktown, blocks 36 through 38. A lot of times we get applications from citizens or from pool companies requesting to put a pool, and it comes in as a building permit. And as they go through the review process through our inspections department, they'll notify the planning department if there's any type of encroachment. And that was the case here. So if you look at the lot, it is a pie-shaped lot, which is very common at the end of a cul-de-sac. And this one is exceedingly wide in the rear yard, so it gives lots of room on each side of the home. So I would say the lot is kind of a triangular pie shape, and due to that shape, it would qualify for a variance because the lot is very shallow, but it has the space on the sides that it wouldn't have in the depth of the rear yard. So that would meet the definition of a hardship per the state statute and per our own regulations. If you look on page 5 of 12, it talks about swimming pools. So pools are allowed in a yard along with tennis courts, patios, storm, and other protective shelters. But it says they shall be located in the rear yard and have a minimum setback of 10 feet from each side or rear lot line. And then again, it goes on to say, if you're in an RE or an ag, you can put it in the front yard, but it doesn't decide what we can do if you need it in the side yard. So that's kind of how we got to where we are this evening. In section 420 of the current zoning code, it talks about accessory uses permitted in residential districts. And then if you go to page 6, it talks about the powers of the Board of Adjustment. So number 1 is administrative review. Number 2 is a variance to authorize upon appeal in specific cases such variances from the terms of this article as will not be contrary to the public interest. Owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this article will, in any individual case, result in unnecessary hardship. So the spirit of this article shall be observed, public safety and welfare secured, and substantial justice done. And I think that that in this case that they can meet all of those requirements. If you go on down, it does talk about a special exception, so I'm not going to refer to that. It says the swimming pool shall have a minimum setback. These are staff comments of 10 feet from any side or rear lot lines. If you look on page 8, it shows an aerial view of that lot and kind of a blue arrow showing the general location. And then we have the actual plat document. And we have another version that makes it even easier to see. It's interesting from this Google Earth, it's kind of squished in. I think his backyard's a little teeny bit deeper than what it looks like in this photo. So the next page is the advertisement, or sorry, the legal, this is the legal case map. And then the page 11 out of 12 shows the location of the pool. And then if you've got the email and the attachment, I kind of marked it up. And one of the things we're trying to remedy in the new Unified Development Ordinance is really identifying what constitutes a side yard and what constitutes a rear yard. Because in this case, the pool is in the rear yard and slightly in the side yard, but a portion of that is almost the same, depending where you're looking. So page 11 shows the plan that they have for their yard. And then the last one, they did a very basic plan on top of their mortgage inspection report. And they do meet the 10-foot setback from the side and rear property lines. They do not encroach with the pool into the easement. That would be a whole different conversation. And so they're staying out of the easement with the actual pool, and the inspectors will also confirm that. So I do not have any more comments. And again, I apologize for sending out the notice as a special exception when in fact I recommend the only tool that's really valid in this case is a variance.
Thank you, Marseille. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
Would you like to present your application, or do you have anything to add or any questions for us?
I feel like you summed it up pretty well. I think the highlights of it were the lot size, the way it plays out. And when we built the house, we had the anticipation that it might work this way. So the electrical box and the gas line are all plugged into that back corner of this lot. So it should work out pretty well. There's a sewer line along the back side of the lot that prevents us from going straight far in the back of the house. So that's part of it as well. So we shifted it to the side. And then, like you said, it starts in the back, kind of wraps around to the side lot. It is a fenced lot. And from the end of the pool to that side fence will be close to 40 feet. So go away from our neighbors. And then from the north side, we back up to 5 Oaks there. So won't think about too many complaints from the neighbors back there. I think hopefully it'll work out pretty well for the neighborhood.
Thank you. It does not appear to me that there is anybody else in the audience. Just to be sure, are there any other, is there an online component to our meeting today? Strictly in person? Okay. I'll open this up to the board for questions or comments.
I did go out and talk to your wife. I thought I needed something. I stopped by because I rode past your house, talked to your wife a little bit. And on this map, it doesn't show it. There is a new construction going to the right, their property to the east, but it does. I don't think they're going to be they're not going to cause any noise or issue with the way that house sits off at an angle.
Yeah, exactly. It sets up an angle to that point. And the edge of our pool to that line would be about 40 feet from that line. So I think there's still back distance there. Fencing, and you've got types of trees you can't see along that side as well. So it should help the neighbors to be able to see it the next 2 or 3 years. Oh.
When I think of a side pool, one of the biggest concerns I always had were attracting nuisances. People being able to view the pool from the front of the yard. I think that's one of the designs to why most city codes, including Tulsa, Bixby, Jinx, we all have requirements for special exceptions or for variances when it comes to side pool yards. So for me, the safety aspect is my biggest concern. I do see in the pictures that it looks like there's fences installed. How high are the fences and what protections are you guys ensuring so that children or those, you live in a cul-de-sac, so that obviously that's going to be potentially at a high juvenile traffic area, potentially. What safety issues or measures are you guys taking to make sure that those issues are addressed?
Mainly the fence, it's a gated fence. There's a gate on that side of the property. That's an iron gate fence with a latch that we can lock. So we plan on locking that gate there. On both sides, there's a fence gate on both sides of the property. That is locked. From the street view, I don't think you'll be able to see the pool. If you can see the cul-de-sac here, it pulls up to the front of our house. May be able to see part of it. There will be a grotto on this side of the south side of the pool. So ideally, that will block the natural kind of landscape. Next, ideally, most people won't be able to see it from that side. There's 2 trees here that you don't see as well that partially block that pool, but mostly probably a blocked gate and a fence. The front fence is 6 foot, the back fence is 8 foot. It's got a cedar cap on it and metal post, so it's a pretty solid fence. It's 3 years old, so ideally it'll last for another 10 years or so without having to replace it. But it's in good condition. It's fine on all the time, so it hasn't fallen yet, but that's
You can't see
okay.
through it. It's a cedar fence. You can't see through it or anything.
And that is part of the building permit and inspection process. They do require that gated off pool area. So this.
Are there any other questions, comments for staff? Discussion on the board? Want to thank you, Marseille, for taking a close look at this. I did notice, as I shared with you, that under the definitions of the zoning code, the rear yard and the side yard have their own definitions, but they're not really mutually exclusive. Side yard follows side lot line, except at the required front and rear yard. So there's probably a 20-foot setback back there. It technically terminates at that point. It appears to me that the pool, meaning the excavated portion, is primarily within the rear yard, but just a small sliver does fall in the side yard. And then the decking for the pool, which you might call patio, comes a little bit further into the side yard. Code clearly states that they are to be in the rear yard, and by not specifying they may be in the side yard, it does appear to me to be appropriate that it is before the Board of Adjustment for approval. I also see, and I think it may have been mentioned, there is a 17.5-foot wide utility easement in the rear. It occurs to me most likely they would have pushed that further back into the lot had that not been there, and that's a unique condition that from which arises the need for relief through the variance. I personally believe that this is a good case for variance, and I am supportive of this. If there is no further discussion, I'll ask to entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve JBOA 21440 as a variance for the special exception.
I'll second that motion.
Gina Wilson,
Yes.
Ricky Tuck,
Yes.
Sarah Foley,
Yes.
Spencer Pittman,
Yes.
Eric Dinger.
Yes. I believe you can follow up with staff after the meeting regarding the permit steps that are necessary from this.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Next item is 6 other business. Do we have any other business?
I'll give you a quick update. The UDO committee met today, and if you were present, it was grueling. it was a lot. And I really appreciate the committee. I appreciate all of you who are serving. And I've given you all a link on your weekly updates to the draft version of Articles 1 through 6. And those are still draft, and we can still receive comments. So if you do feel like you need some good reading material, you don't have enough to do in your life, please feel free to read them and provide comments. And then Article 8, which is the subdivision regulations, have gone back and forth between staff and House of Living. I think we're on our 3rd or 4th version of that for many reasons. And we really wanted a product that was best practices, and what we had was fine, but it was also very old. And sometimes best practices is amazing, and sometimes best practices feels more like East Coast or West Coast. So we're trying to find that comfortable middle ground that kind of brings us into better accountability, but still provides, some flexibility for our developers and things. So we're still trying to hammer that out, but the other articles will be available. We'll get comments. Jackie will take the comments that we provided today. They'll go back to staff for another round of review. I still am pushing for November adoption. So your window is getting smaller if you really want to have any comments or anything. And then also I've had it in my mind for probably over a year to do a code of ethics / just a training for my planning commissioners and my board of adjustment. So I'm working on that and working on getting that information for you all so that you know what's expected, if there's any statutory expectations or and maybe some general information. In other cities, we brought in the city attorney and just had them kind of go through what it looks like. Some of you are veterans and you've been serving forever. And so I just wanted to, I'll be bringing that up. I'll probably send out the actual information in my weekly update. But then after that, I will probably bring someone in besides myself who can actually talk to you all and just kind of walk through what that might look like. And I think that is it. I can't think of anything else. Oh, think about if you want a chair. We have a chair, sorry, a vice chair. It's not required in our code to have a vice chair, so we didn't put it on the agenda. I think it's wise to have one so that if the chair is absent, you naturally know who would serve in their place. So if you all are in favor, we'll just go ahead and put it on the agenda for the next time to elect a vice chair.
Thank you for raising that question. I wondered about that myself and personally think that would be a good idea.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Last item on the agenda is adjournment. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Jenny Wilson,
Yes.
Ricky Patel,
Yes.
Sarah Pulley,
Yes.
Eric Ginyard,
Yes.
and Pittman. Yes.
All right.